Okay, welcome everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us at this late 8 p.m. hour. I appreciate your care in our topic for tonight. So we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. Taking roll call, please note that all directors are here in person. Thank you all for being here.
Wide-eyed and bushy tail.
Good. Carol has her tea. We're ready to go. Do I have a volunteer to read the mission and vision statement? Yay, thank you, Erin.
At Decorah Community School District, we embrace student learning and well-being as our fundamental purpose. We will, in partnership with our students, families, and community, make the world a better place. The mission of the Decorah Community School District is learning, thriving, creating our legacy. The vision of the Decorah Community School District is to be a collaborative, innovative, learning-centered organization, empowering students to embrace their personal strengths and create their future.
Thank you. Next, I'll accept a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, hearing a motion and a second, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So the only item on our agenda tonight is to review, discuss, and possible updates on the elementary building project. And I wanted to start tonight with kind of a celebratory reflection on the good work that happened a year ago. And Sean right now is on our district website. But before I have you click around to different pages, I just wanted to tell the story of how we got here. So in the winter of between 2023 and 2024, a volunteer committee of 20 individuals came together, and we really invited help from a broad spectrum of industries and leaders in our community. And they worked together to put together a concept for a school bond. And we had hired the help of the Donovan Group, which is a communications consulting company, and they helped guide us through that process a little bit and help put together campaign communications. And in talking with Jerry Gallagher, who was the lead of that campaign consultant group, he said, Decorah was the most inspired group of volunteers that he has ever worked with. I'm looking at Shannon putting them down. And he said that the model that we used in Decorah, he has shared with other communities that he's working with around the country. We stood out to him. We had something really special. And that really showed because we had an engaged campaign and solid communications. And when we went to vote, we passed a school bond by 67.7% on a very contentious presidential election year. And before that, we passed a second yes vote in September to give us the financial flexibility to make this all possible. And I couldn't be more proud to lead on the Decorah School Board this year and help design a project that I genuinely feel is best for our students, because our board policy says that our duty is to do what is best for the students in our district. And that's why we're all here to serve. So board members, I want to thank you for your volunteer time. These are unpaid positions, and we share countless hours to do what's best for our kids. I know that there's been a lot of conversation in the community about the new school project, and I'm so excited to have Nick here tonight to talk about that. But before I introduce that, I want to direct the community to show you exactly where you can go to inform yourself about the project. So Sean has our district website up right now, and right now what we're looking at is the desktop version. I found this more easily to navigate to on a desktop. So if you look at the top of the web page, you'll see the picture of a construction worker, and it says elementary updates. So right there, everyone see it? Okay, so he clicked there. And next we are on, it says Decorah Elementary Updates. This is the page of our new school project and the work that we have done this year. But before we talk about our final plan tonight, I wanted to go to the bond page. So at the menu at the top where you see home, project plans, newsletters, FAQs, district website, you'll see bond 2024. Let's go to that website. So in case you haven't looked at this webpage in a year, it's still here. And Sean, I'd like you to go, there's a menu at the top that says conceptual plan. I'd like you to go there. Okay, at the top, there's a carousel of images. And first we see some graphic renderings of what the school might look like. And if you click, go ahead and click on one, Sean. So when you click on one, it will pull it up really big. And then you can arrow over and individually look at these images one by one. Okay, keep going. Keep going. Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay, so here is the site plan that was included on our campaign page. So you can take a look at it there. And I think it even says the square foot of the building, which my old eyes can't see very well, but I think it says 70,000 feet, but Nick can answer those questions later. Anyway, here's the general site plan that we started with, and go ahead and flip over to the next one. This was a view of the upstairs, and click to the next one. And this is a floor plan of the main floor. Now, this was just a very preliminary concept of what the building might be. And I want to point out that there is a gymnasium in the middle of that building. And that gymnasium is 10,000 feet big and has bleachers on one side. And below the gymnasium, you can see a pink box that says locker rooms, because part of our facility evaluation identified that we needed space to have competitions, like practice space and, you know, just that for school district use and for the city of Decorah Park and Rec use. So gym and lockers are in the building, but it's right in the middle. Okay, so next, if you could go back to our elementary update. Oh, no, let's stay on this page for a second. If you could go scroll down, I'm going to just read through kind of the main priorities of what we voted for. And the bullet list, some of the benefits of constructing the school at this site include an opportunity to improve traffic flow, parking, and pedestrian safety around both the elementary school and the high school. To be in close physical proximity to the high school, and it provides opportunities for savings, including efficient food service operations, shared staffing, and transportation. More curricular opportunities for interaction between high school students and elementary students. The city's Parks and Recreation program would have access to additional gymnasium located near its offices. And the school would improve the appearance of one of the most visible areas of the community. And then further down in the page, you can read more about just modern design, efficient, enhanced security, increased natural light, additional space. It says an ample media space would be included along with a learning commons that would double as a cafeteria and a space for community outreach. The gymnasium would be appropriately sized for competitions, practices, and community recreational leagues, and would include a performance area for concerts and events. And to enhance safety, parent vehicle access would be separated from the bus drop-off. Parking access would be improved near the high school to better support events, tennis courts, green spaces, and playground areas. So this project page, this campaign page we sent out a postcard, which is still in my refrigerator at home. We sent it to every mailbox in the school district and gave it a QR code to this page so voters could go and read and be informed about what they were voting on. And again, just to say it one more time, it passed by 67.7%. So soon after the bond passed in November of 2024, the school district got to work right away and hired Emergent to start work planning the school. We also hired Myron Construction to serve as a construction manager at risk. This is a new concept for Iowa, but that has given us the double security to have two project partners and two perspectives of expertise to make sure that we are planning a school and not getting into trouble with change orders during construction process, but to know what was coming in this pre-planning phase. And tonight is extra special because we've been waiting kind of for this moment all year, Nick. And Nick Hildebrand, this moment, and Nick Hildebrand is here from Emergent Engineering tonight, and he is going to walk us through the new school as designed. And then after Nick presents, I will open it up for questions from the board. Nick, do you prefer that we wait until you're done presenting to ask questions, or do you want us to pepper you with questions as you're going through?
I think it's okay to pepper me with questions as you go through, or you can write them down.
Okay,
If it might be easier with the visuals if something comes up,
okay.
but however you'd like to do it.
We're gonna pepper Nick with questions as he's going through. And then after, we'll have time for other discussion that the board feels we need to have.
I want to start with the first question, Nick. Are you going to talk about the process between passing the bond and today? Or should we just summarize that real quick, like the DD meetings? And
I have just a little bit about that, and I can touch a little bit on that. It's similar to the stuff that was talked about at the city council meeting the other
Okay.
night. So
I was just trying to remember, because that was a pretty intensive process. We met 4 times with different teacher groups to redesign, but I guess I'll let you do your presentation.
yeah, you can jump in and add more to the process. But yeah, this is a little bit of piece, is some more elaboration than on the design and some of the specifics, and we can dig into any part of the school that you'd like to look closer on. Talking a little bit about the project team, you kind of recapped the process of bringing everyone on board. This definitely was a process of a lot of great team members working together. We always want to make sure that we have the district's mission and vision at the top of our mind as we go through this process as we're designing spaces. Oop, I think I went backwards. Oop, there we go. So yeah, after the things that you saw, which was great to recap that and look, we were on board when we were going through those meetings, and so those schematics were actually developed in that facility committee before the bond issue, and the approximate square footage of that building at that time from expectations of programs and things that we had discussed through was about 90,000 square feet. And so if looking at the current design, the current floor plan, the building is about at 90,000 square feet, which is magical. It is different spaces. It is cut up differently. It's programmed differently because we take our best guess at what's all going to be included. So that part is we would call preliminary and schematic design. After we got going, then we dig in deeper to each and every space in the building. We call it a design development process, and so there were user groups from pretty much every space that we met with for 4 iterations. It was about a day and a half long to start off with, and then went down to about a day and kind of stayed a day through the rest of the meetings. We talked about every single space inside the building, and we talked about the space outside the building. Talked about recess. We talked about tennis space. We talked about competition. And so that process really, in this floor plan, you can see kind of what the diagram, the floor plan starts to look like. And so over on the right, you can see there's pictures of kind of the furniture and the marker boards and the cabinetry and you know, the space really starts to come alive. We have 3D programs where we walk all the people through, and I have this really nice 3D to kind of walk around and move around and show you, which maybe is even less developed than the one that they all saw, which had marker boards and pretty much everything you could possibly think of. Along with that, we've got mechanical, electrical, plumbing, technology engineers that are doing that work. We have civil engineers, landscape engineers that are working on the site, all kind of simultaneously at that point. So we got through that process. We kind of get a yes, this is what we think we should move forward with. That was presented to you guys. We provided drawings to the district. Said, yes, that's what we're gonna move forward with. So we did a pricing exercise at that time. We had VE exercises that we did with the board together, talking about some of the things that we have to consider to spend money on or maybe pull out of the project, which was a part of this process. And we now are working on what we call construction documents. So the construction documents is what they build off of, what they bid off of, and then what they eventually build off of. So that is at about 60% completion right now, and that is kind of our work behind the scenes with the engineers, architects drafting, creating details from copings to ceilings to lights, mechanical units, all of those types of things. And so what you're gonna kind of see now, kind of constantly jumping back to the end, is some of this is some of the conceptual stuff, but it's of the current design. And this is probably more of a pretty picture than it is what I would call construction documents. In the next couple slides, I can show you, start to talk a little bit about the construction documents. So in this is a site plan. So right here is footprint of the school. Footprint of the school, if you remember from that schematic plan that was up there, that was from before the bond, it actually mirrored. So we took the whole school and we flipped it on its axis. And so the two-story piece is actually over to the west side now, and the single-story piece is over to the east side. What we also did then is the building actually shifted more to the center. And there's kind of one really big main reason for that, and that is because there is a huge storm sewer running diagonally through the site here that is costly to move. We knew it was there. It was on the east. There's an easement on the site, but also the preference is, of course, to spend money on educational space, spend money on, tennis courts, things that add value, and not to move utility services around. So by shifting over to the center, we were able to then have a less of an alteration to that storm sewer, which actually is fed from storm water from kind of the downtown area. So there's a whole bunch of different things that kind of feed into that. If you have questions about that, you go to the city and ask.
But Nick, I do have one question.
You send questions to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The storm sewer was going to have to be moved a little bit always with this project. Is that correct?
Yeah, the storm sewer, and I don't want to spend a lot of time because it is really complicated, but a lot of past things. The riverbed used to run through here. There's a big drop in a unit located here where there's several storms coming into it. It comes across the road, then it cuts diagonally over to essentially where the water starts to appear on the other side of the street. So that comes straight underneath the road there, comes kind of over and then diagonals through. And then there also is not a lot of fall in that pipe. So we couldn't move it all the way around the site. So that was kind of the precipice of shifting the building so we could still in a cost-effective way, move that storm sewer around the building.
Okay.
Some other strategies that we had from a site standpoint, we went around and around and around about different site designs and what might be best. Ultimately landing on, everyone's comfortable with this being the current entrance, the kind of front of building being where the parent drop off would be. And so what we really did are actually using the current entrance and the current exits here, and then just expanded the parking lot over in this direction, which is turned into pretty much the drive that brings the cars in. And then all the gray area in here is sidewalk. And so there's a strategy to have a sidewalk all the way around this side of the building. A very large sidewalk, actually, that even gets wider in this location. Then the student's able to kind of come down. This would be the front entrance of the school right here. The main office is located right here. They have visuals over this parking lot. Currently, the parents stack up, come in here and then pick up, and we have this sort of bus on parent interaction. So the strategy is to get that bus action, or the buses to the back, separate that for the parent drop off, and then give a little space in here for the parents to come in and stack up on the site while they wait, because every parent lovingly comes, 45 minutes to an hour before their students come out of the building to pick their kids up. And so the buses sit back here, and they are off the street. There was some discussion in early meetings, could we have a pull-off lane for the bus just right on the street? Not a typical secure situation. There's lots of communities that do things like that if we're really short on space. But in this scenario, decided that having the buses pull off the street safer from not allowing kids to kind of dodge between buses and possibly come out into traffic. Then from a site standpoint, since we shifted the building over, it kind of separated the two green spaces. That early rendering, it was great to show that. We had concentrated early on in the process to have as big a green space over here as we possibly could. And then that was gonna, possibly be turfed. It could function for, practices and all different types of things. Instead, since we shifted the building over, we went to green area on this side, green play area on this side. And then the tennis courts shifted over to the east side of the site. And they kind of got burned into the hill over on this side, which adds kind of some nice protection from the wind, creating a really nice competition and community tennis court area over to that side of the building. So since we flipped the building, this wing of the school is the early childhood ages. So it's pre-K kindergarten over on this side. And then first and second grade located in the two-story piece over on this side. And then centralizing a lot of the services that both the younger kids and the little bit older kids come to and use kind of in the center of the building. So these are age-appropriate playgrounds located as close to the classrooms as possible onto either side of the building.
I just to interrupt, Nick, when you're talking about shifting, it's probably important to people understand that you've been working on this project for about 15 years. And I'm not even joking.
No.
But there were some design ideas early on that the school would be built as far west on the Higley Island as possible. So when you're talking shifting, we actually shifted it back to the east with the idea of the drainage, and then creating some green space on the west side. That really maybe in earlier visions weren't there. So and as long as you're talking about the other fact I know you're gonna get to, but I'll steal your thunder. By putting that preschool there and having the parking lot there, we can have drop off for our youngest learners with our parking lot, and
Right.
we feel good about that instead of having it on the other side where the preschool would have to walk a long ways. There'll be hopefully car to door, which is always good for those folks.
Correct.
The preschoolers don't come on buses, is that right? The preschoolers don't come on
Preschoolers are not
buses?
bus. That's
Someday.
my understanding.
Someday.
We need it, right? We need it.
Only if they have big drives, they wouldn't do that.
But if you envision, there was a model of school where that preschool one was on the west side. So then the preschoolers would have been dropped off and they would have just had a longer haul. So I know that was one of the, as we went through this whole process, it was like, well, what if we do this? And here are some of the benefits to doing it. And that was the preschool one, being closer to the park made a lot of sense. And then, of course, working with the preschool teachers, they were pretty adamant that a fence would then go up because they didn't want to go out for recess and have the children just run right out and not think that, oh, there's a parking lot. So
Right.
the door that they would go out for preschool will be encased in a fence.
Yeah, correct. You can kind of see on this plan, the kind of black line here that comes around. It also comes around on this side. So the strategy from the floor plan standpoint is that there is actually doors that enter into a kind of locker space where the kids are able to put their boots on, their winter clothes, and then they exit right out of that space right to the outside instead of going into the hallway, coming through the hallway as a large group and then coming out the door. And that's a typical process for a typical design for pre-K and kindergarten. A lot of it just has to do with time and their ability to kind of move around the school. And all good points. Yes, the strategy of bringing pre-K over here puts them closer to the parking lot in which there'll be the people there will be parking and probably walking the kids into the school, which is different than kind of the stacking of the parents that are here to pick up their students. But we do have, lots and lots of sidewalk and staging space in front of here, because if you've been in front of the current John Klein, we're just adding to that by bringing more students over to here and complicating all that by having, even more parents coming into the site and doing different things. So, rest of kind of the site design here, another thing as far as from the site standpoint, the building also could not shift more to the east because we have to keep the existing school open during construction. And that is just a given that has to happen. So really, you can't see on here where the existing school is, but it's right about in here. And so it's gonna be a little tight during construction with the adjacency next to the existing school. And it is gonna take away pretty much the majority of the site during construction.
And as we look at that site, one of the most important things we heard from teachers was a room with a window to the outside.
Lots of conversations about windows, yes. Which I think we almost nailed it, where nearly every educational space has a window to the outside. It's not to the outside, it's a borrowed space to a space that has very large windows in it. Kind of the rest of the sidewalks, there's connecting sidewalks here on the north that connects you to a sidewalk that brings you over to this playground. So that if a older student is dropped off here, they can transition through this gate into the older playground. The same goes for the bus drop here. There's a large kind of staging area when you get off the bus here. And then they can either come into this back entrance over here, or there's a connecting sidewalk over here with a gate that allows you to get into this playground as well. And so there's definitely a lot of thought put into the way that the students flow through the site, the pickup, the drop off, the safety and security of that.
And then maybe the way we dual use our tennis courts.
Yes, and the tennis courts are located over on this side, which allows this kind of back one. You can see this is 4 square located right here, basketball hoops located here. So this back one is meant to also double as a hard surface play space for the younger playground. and which is a practice that is done currently. And then that front one has the tennis and the pickleball courts added so that that's able to be used and easily accessed from kind of the most distant kind of parking space on the site over here.
Mhm. And Nick, you mentioned a gate on the south side of the project.
Yeah, right.
that- And that, of course, would be closed during school hours to keep students safe. But what about during weekends and non-school hours?
Yeah, most typically playgrounds and things like that are open and accessible during nights and weekends.
So the community could
Yeah.
enter through that gate and use that green space and use the playgrounds and tennis courts and, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
And it's nearly impossible to lock something like that unless you chain it shut, which is not a good practice.
yeah,
Because ultimately people can just jump over the fence and
Yeah.
unlock it,
right.
you know, if it's locked. So, because we do need to keep, it kind of becomes an outdoor space, so we need to allow for, if something happens, the students or anybody to
Right.
egress out of that
Yeah.
space.
Yep.
So we would never barricade it to the point that it wouldn't be accessible.
Mhm.
We should probably talk about the fence height as well.
So the fence height, at one time, you know, we're shown on here as an 8-foot fence. In some of these locations and some of that had to do with, landscape architects' preference on, you know, keeping balls in and how that, protects the kids or anything coming in, but I think there's been discussion about that shrinking down.
Yeah,
to lower height.
Tim had presented to the city council on,
Yeah, we took it off our application, so the only 8-foot fence part is around the tennis courts, which,
Yeah.
then I don't want to, speak, so, that wasn't part of the variance because there's a safety issue with tennis balls then. So when we applied for the variance, we didn't put anything in about fencing over, 4 feet, over 4.
So now all the fencing around the playgrounds will be 4 feet. And there will be multiple gates that people, the public could access during non-school hours to get into the playgrounds, not just one.
Yeah, you can see the gates on here pretty clearly,
yeah, go
right?
ahead and
Right,
just.
right
walk
here's a
through.
double, yeah, I'll kind of walk through the back. There's a double gate here. There's a double gate located over here. There's a fence that kind of goes along the tree line and walkway here. There's a double gate located right here. And then as I go down here from the sidewalk, there is a gate located here, which kind of continues out to the front. And there's more complication to this than what you see here, because there's some height things that we have to take care of, although it looks like it's like completely flat. We are trying to kind of, you know, elevate the building so it's not super low. You know, if there is any sort of storm water or those types of things that could come onto the site.
I don't want to dig too deep in the weeds. How tall is the fence going around the tennis courts? 'Cause I just heard it referred to as 8, but I'm hoping it's higher than 8. So that would be pretty.
Yeah, it's a good question.
What is
I,
it now?
It's pretty tall.
10, 12.
10 or 12.
Yeah, it should be at least as tall as it is now.
Standard on the baseline fence. Standard on the baseline is gonna be 10 feet, although on the sides, you can have it actually have a lower similar to.
You know, the gate along the tree line onto the south. I'm wondering if we actually need to have that particular gate there. I mean, the fence, I mean, that particular, because there's a berm there, we have a line of trees there.
you're talking about on this side?
Right,
Is that what you're talking-
that's the south side of this,
Yeah,
of the site, right?
yeah,
All those trees are gonna lose their leaves and it's gonna end up being kind of a mess between the fence and the berm, the hillside and the trees there. And that's a natural barrier already for students. I wonder if there really is a reason to have a gate along there.
offense.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I keep saying.
Yeah.
What time is it? Yeah, I mean fence.
Well, I think knowing that Nick talked about students being able to exit immediately onto the green space I think that would be for security reasons, and I know that our elementary principal, Tori is here tonight, and she had written us a really detailed letter about the importance of fencing and the need, and the need to have a secure space for kids to be.
And I thought there was something with a pre-K space.
Yes, it's gonna be required for the preschool space does have to be fenced in
Yeah.
for state law.
That existing retaining wall, you can see that in here, that existing retaining wall is the nicest older retaining wall in the state of Iowa, I was informed. And it is in very, very good shape and would be costly to replace, and so the strategy is to leave that there.
And to leave the existing trees, or at least some of the existing trees?
Yeah, some of the trees, they're gonna be selectively kind of thinned out a little bit, but most of the trees are staying, yes.
He didn't say anything about the box elders being the nicest box elders now.
No specific species that I know of, but. Any other kind of site questions at this, we can come back to this only. Some piece of this. I didn't really go, I guess, through the gates on the other side, so there is the gate here on the back side, this fence goes along the whole way here. It goes around the tennis courts in this direction, there's spectator seating. Spaces kind of located along this side, so inside here, this would be a shorter fence, and then showing that maybe the taller fence would come around, but also this berms up, so there'll be some retaining wall here. And then there's some sidewalk on the backside here that maybe spectators could sit on lawn chairs and kind of watch it in there. The fence continues around here. There is a storage building located right here, which is in the prints that also has bathrooms in there and water for the facility. But also some storage for some of the equipment out here, the trikes and tricycles and play equipment. That is also being done as an alternate, so we're gonna have a separate price for that during the process. There's a gate located right here that would bring you in. They're not showing there would be, of course, gates to get you onto the tennis courts as well. Also located right here is the gate, and then as mentioned, these sidewalks come around the building, feed into these classrooms on this side and this side. And then the main exit out of this side comes here. This brings you around also into this area and brings you in through the gate over here into entries. There's two backdoor entries into the locker rooms on the south side of the gym.
You talked about the parking lot with the parent drop off, but parking spaces.
Yeah, so parking spaces, you can see, we have about, I think this says 92 over here. And I think there's 13 over here. Yes, that's 82. I believe there's 111 total on the site. And so the building itself, the number of staff in there is roughly 75. And then city code requirement requires enough parking for your staff plus 15. So we're providing, a few more than what the requirements are.
And just to be clear, because we went out and counted, currently, I think we determined there were 18 spots.
In the front here.
The current John Klein has 18 spots, 2 handicap, and then 5, what we're gonna call non-traditional parking. Where they just park parallel, I mean, they do it, but it makes that entrance really narrow, so we feel like there's 5 spaces there, so maybe there's somewhere around. I thought it was, is it 22 total? So I've got my numbers off somehow, so 2 minus the 5 would be 7, so there'd be 18 spots. No,
Carry the one.
yeah, 15 spots, plus the 5 illegal spots, plus the 2 handicap. So currently, we have potentially about 50 staff parking on the street and or in the bank parking lot.
Yeah, right now I have like 65 staff at John Fines, the 567. And then with the addition of preschool, it'd be up to 15. So it varies from year to year, but also hoping that preschool increases and we'll need more adults. So give those numbers.
So the 75 is a pretty
Below number.
low.
Yeah. Some of the questions that we were prepared for here, this is the existing site. The space that you're seeing here, that's encapsulated with the yellow line, which actually comes, you know, all the way out here to the tree line out here, and also includes the baseball field is about 184,000 square feet. And then the current space that we're showing here is almost 120,000 square feet. And you can see like some of the hard surface playground spaces and stuff are actually not included in that space.
So can you repeat those numbers again?
So with the softball field, that inside that yellow is 184,000 square feet.
Of
which-
green, of what you're calling green space?
Which, yeah, and that was a question that was kind of preempted. If we were to take this field off, I believe this field is about 45,000 square feet here. Which would take it, you know, down into about 130, something like that. And then this space that we're kind of showing here, around here, the green spaces, around here is 118,000 square feet. This building footprint is 75,000 square feet, and this building footprint is about 50,000 square feet. So we're, you know, about 25,000 square feet bigger on the footprint specifically.
So with the green space, can we talk more about usable green space for, let's say, when Nordic Fest comes and does their activities down there? Can you go back to the new plan? So I see on there the usable green space, it's not part of the playgrounds, which would not be what we'd be using at Nordic Fest. Obviously, kids could go if they wanted to, but the usable green space. Could you give us an estimate of that usable green space that is between the tennis courts and the trees and behind on the south side of the school? What would you call, what would you
This space
estimate?
right here.
Yeah, do we have can you give us a figure of what you think that space is, that green space? Because that's really, I think, what it's the usable green space is what's important for what the city might. I mean, I think that's what we need to
open.
That's the information that we need to compare and that we need to get to the city,
Okay.
So like how far you could throw a rock?
right? Or when a parade goes down there and then we have activities after a parade or whatever. My understanding was that was what the point was about green space. So I'd just like to do a comparison of the actual usable green space there compared to now.
I don't know if I'm able to kind of pull the square footages right this second up there. We'll
Could
get
you
you
get us that
plans
type
and
of
prints
thing?
and kind of show you the space.
That'd be great.
Like in comparison wise, I guess you're talking about the definition of the usable green space is probably just where I need some clarification on.
Right
And
where that grass is.
so this would be
not
what
on-
you would consider kind of the usable green space on the site versus like a space over here that is.
Right, because that's a
Not
hillside and it
Sure.
goes right down to the building. That's not usable.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't really use it now for anything except maybe kids running up and down the hill.
Kind of a layout area. Yeah. The new site does have, you know, this larger field, which at this time is getting an alternate to have the turf. Which means that it, you know, it could be used for certain things, maybe not throwing huge rocks or that type of stuff.
Yeah.
But certainly for conventions or tents and that type of stuff, it would be even more ideal. Because it would not get muddy or anything.
What's the dimensions of that? Have the dimensions, or could you get those?
I don't know if I have the exact dimensions on these plans. It would take me a little while to kind of go get those.
That's fine, you don't need to do that now, because we have lots to do tonight. But I think that was an important point, and that's something that we should,
Okay.
should we something.
Okay. This is then, as we get into the construction plans, what some of the construction documents actually start to look like. So a lot more information. You can see, as I was talking about some of the grading, you can see some of the grading that's happening here. And that has to do with trying to put a 75,000 square foot building on the same level over a pretty expansive site, and all the doors coming out at the same level. And that building that building site is not perfectly flat. So we have to make up some grades in different locations. Try to make the playgrounds and the green areas as usable as we possibly can. Take care of the storm water. That's some of the stuff you're seeing here with inlets. We've got underground water storage, which is again requirements that communities have to take care of storm water, so we're not just sending that all downstream immediately. Same kind of with this site, you can kind of see some of the parking lot here, tennis courts, playground areas, and that type of stuff. You start to see the grades, some of the collection areas here that with inlets and where the underground storm sewer comes into play and starts to get some of that storm water collected, and then put it in those underground storage facilities. So getting then to the floor plans, this is the diagram of the entire floor plan. This is as we move into construction documents, this is what it starts to look like. So we're looking at huge grid lines going across here. That's our steel column lines, section marks, elevation marks, and floor plans. But kind of digging in a little bit closer here from a floor plan standpoint. So this is starting in the central area located right here. As I kind of come into the building, you can see there's 2-door entrance here, vestibule. This would be a locked situation that forces you into the reception space. This is a reception office located here with the corridor that comes down. Offices, a workroom, offices located along here, conference. Also off here to the back would be the nurse's office with a sick bay, toilet rooms. There's toilets, file room located back here. Then as they kind of come to the back, we've got a small break room. And then there's a corridor back here, which allows access to nurse, guidance room back here, and then also therapy room with reset room and kind of Zen-Den space. And if you want to know about specifics of all of those types of spaces, we went over every single one of these and the kind of design development and the size of those spaces and what those teachers needed to use that space for. As I kind of go back to the main entrance here, the other option is to come into through the vestibule into the common space. So that's this space located right here, which is the cafeteria. It is the movement of students from the wing that's over to the east, over to the wing to the west, to the office area, to the corridor space, to the music room, to the media center. So it's kind of that central heart of the building, and it's located right in the middle. I'll show you how awesome that looks here in just a minute. There's another hallway located right here where there's toilets located in here. These would be some of the toilets that would be able to be closed off and allow for more toilets during a competition event. So we're not having to clean all of those toilets during a day-to-day type of situation. Over to the side here then is a concession stand, which opens down into the commons. Down here then music room. And then this is kind of a back door to intervention spaces, all located here with windows to the outside. Intervention storage located here. And then back out, either you can come, more than likely students would come in this door. And then this right here is the media center. You can also see some more doors here that allow access to some different spaces, which I'll show you right here. So, this is the lower floor. So right over here is that media center. So as I continue on, we've got two special ed rooms off of the media center. We've got an exploratory room located right here, which is kind of a STEM room. That is located with access off the media center, but also off of this direction.
And Nick, is it true that, am I remembering right, that there is one exploratory room per grade level?
Yes.
Right. And that would be space that teachers can set up a special unit, like if they're gonna set up a bunch of stuff and wanna leave it set up for multiple weeks, they have room to do that. They have room to do whatever they want in that extra exploratory room.
Yeah, it's meant to be kind of the STEAM type of learning, so it could be the hands-on type of more of physical learning versus the kind of sit in the spaces and get it that way.
Regular classroom.
Yeah,
Okay,
there's
great.
more, there's 2 saints or 3 saints located in this one. There's some different types of space. There was discussion of everything from bringing in cooking classes and that type of stuff in there.
And yeah, and that discussion happened with teachers during that design development. Yeah.
Yeah, it is also located adjacent to an art room, so it also could function very easily as an art room. This one is actually the only internal classroom within the building. But it does have access to the media center, which has a lot of natural light, as well as to this collab and corridor space out here. As I kind of work my way along this side, we've got an art room, which just has a large amount of glass that faces to the bluffs, looking to the north. This is kind of the main corridor through this wing that comes down straight through here. Then we've got first grade classrooms. Each one of these is essentially a mirror upon themselves. There's small group rooms that can be used by each one of these classrooms to do interventions or meet as small groups within that space. It's located right by the door as you enter, so they could, kind of go in there with a student, kind of not disrupt, but also not disrupt things going out and on in the hallway. We've got lockers located in the hallway as I work my way down here. This is the connector over to the commons. And then right here is the kitchen serving dish return that feeds the commons that's located over here. This has delivery and storage located in the back, which is something I didn't really mention on the site plan, that deliveries would be located back here, not only for food, but also for receiving for the school, for paper and all of those types of supplies would be located in the back there. We've got the level 2-3 room located back here, which allows for a door to go directly out here for transportation. And so that is a really nice location. There's space here that if we have a bedridden student can be in that space. We've got a Zen den in that space. There's toilets in that space. There's a kitchen in that space. And so that's really set up like a level 2-3 room. Teachers PLC is located on this floor, so it's on this floor, which kind of also acts as a space for lunch and those types of things. And then we have vertical circulation here with stair, as well as an elevator located right here, centralized. And then there is a stair within the central space that brings you upstairs to the second floor, which is the second grade, which essentially lays out like the floor below it. We've got a smaller ELP classroom located up here with nice views to the north, all these second grade classes, and then they have their exploratory located right here with the PLC here. Bathrooms located up here, and then this is a very large mechanical room located up here with also one of the IT rooms located upstairs, and the other main kind of IT MDF located right here underneath this kind of space here. As I kind of move around the building, so right over here to the left, this is the kitchen space that I was just talking about, the deliveries for freezer, refrigerator right there. So over to the east of that, this is the gymnasium space. So you can see the amount of bleachers located. on either side. There is office, storage space here, so if there would be a teaching station located kind of over in this corner. There's, net that would come down that would allow the gym to be split into two to have two different types of practices. There is storage, lots of storage along this wall, which actually then has some bleachers located up on top of that. This allows us to put electrical room, IT rooms, janitor rooms, storage space underneath some of that seating that would be stacked up along that wall. As I kind of work my way through the end of the space here, down here, we've got 4 locker rooms that are all the exact same size, with 2 ways to kind of get into these spaces, of 2 doors from the outside that enter a hallway that allow you to get into the locker room spaces. Large storage for the gym here, an office, as well as kind of a training room, and this office would also function for referees during events. So then off of the commons up here, this is a corridor space that leads you over to the lower grade wing, which is located over here. As I come through the door here, we've got another set of doors, which brings you into the multi-purpose room, which would be used for the lower grade physical education space. I continue down this hallway. There's a corridor that links over here to the preschool, early childhood, lower level explore. These classrooms are set up almost all the same kind of space wise, which gives us the flexibility as classes grow and shrink, that we can either use them for pre-K, early childhood. We're using this space currently for an ELL space, which could transform into kind of locker space in the future. These are the doors out of these spaces, out of these shared locker room spaces between the preschool, between the kindergartens, that allow those students to go directly outside and go over to the playground space.
Nick, I think you'd be remiss if you didn't talk about the bathroom situation in the.
Good point, yeah, so as I maybe zoom in here, I can kind of show a little bit better. So the center part of these spaces are some storage space, specifically for preschool, a couple bathrooms, and then another toilet in here, which allows for a possible changing station and those types of things. The typical kindergarten room has a small group room between it, like the first and second grade. And then it has 2 bathrooms that come into each classroom. And so that opens up into that. Got hand washing stations located right by it. And then a door that takes you into this kind of locker space that leads you out to the outside.
Of course, the difference. Kindergartners usually have the bathroom located in the room rather than go to the end of the hall and go to the bathroom, like you might have for first or second grade or any of the other grades.
Yeah. A little bit on exterior interior design. So this is some pictures of your community that we really tried to root a lot of the design in. You know, the nature, the bluffs, the water, the river, the mill, the limestone. And so as we design this, the material palette, the colors, the playfulness kind of was inspired by the community. This is some 3D images of different spaces that are in here, but I have even more exciting way to show this. So you can't criticize my skills at this, because I'm not the greatest at this, but because I didn't play a lot of video games when I was younger. But you can see, so this is an aerial view. This over here is the younger wing. This then, as I kind of zoom in here, will be the entrance. You can see the gymnasium in the background. The windows, there's up high windows that bring natural light into the gymnasium. This in the front, these windows, this light colored material is limestone, so that brings in that kind of natural, like the mill. The windows are very on a rhythm, kind of like the mill, but also bring the limestone in like a natural material for that. As I kind of zoom in here, into these cars. This would be the kind of drop off situation. Ooh, and don't try not to get sick as I come through here. So, you're seeing some of the doors here as that go into the pre-K. These are the large windows that are kind of the reading nooks. They were kind of referred to as like the tree houses within the classrooms. We got a little bit different colored ceiling in those spaces. This is kind of the canopy as I enter the building. This glass right here is the front office where I can see the receptionist, and then as I kind of look along here, these are a bunch of the offices located here for the admin conference space along there.
Can you talk a bit about the materials as you're zooming in here, that you said is gonna be limestone, the light colored, and then, will these be metal?
These are actually metal panels. Yeah,
Okay.
so that'll be a metal siding. It's a Conair finish. It's a medium cost kind of metal panel that will last a long time.
So when we see the colors, then that's what, those are metal?
That is,
basically?
those colors are metal. Yep. So this is that green. The kind of shape of it might not be exactly what it would be,
Mhm.
but it's really close. It'll have some shape like that to it. Some of the green space here too along the side. You're seeing the limestone along there. The color of the aluminum is champagne. So that kind of has that little bit more warmer feeling to it. You can kind of see over to the left, that's that multi-purpose room over there. So there's actually a door that can lead you right into that multi-purpose room over there. Looking over to the right, there's a reception desk. You can see the amount of transparency in here. As I come in, I can kind of look over here. Some of that material, we're using a cheaper limestone looking tile that kind of brings that material into the space. Reception desk along here. So yeah, this is the first time I've ever done this, so bear with me in this. So down this hallway then is the offices, administration, conference room down here. And I can go into any of these spaces. Most of this is modeled. You can take a look at it. I didn't know if you had 2 or 3 hours to kind of walk through this thing. But this is the commons, so you can kind of see the doors as I come through. This set of doors takes you over to the lower ed wing. We've got display cases. We're showing an image along here. This is to be designed as we go through this. That's just a graphic sticker. So it's really just kind of stuck on. You've seen it at tons and tons of schools and you didn't even know you were seeing it. A lot of times it's used for branding. Some of the colors in here, you're seeing the Decorah blue, which kind of leads up to the ceiling to create that kind of sky. Down here, this hallway is the over to the right, that's the nurse. To the left, this is the guidance, and at the end of this is a therapy space, and then that back entrance into that into the back of the office space. So which would you like to see first? I'll take you over here.
So Nick, one of the questions that I've gotten is about safety and security with that gymnasium.
Mhm.
And I know that we talked a lot about that in our meetings with you. And can you tell us, right now you're taking us to the early childhood wing. Can you tell us how that will be safe and secure?
Yeah, so during a competition event, you can see this will be open, but these doors will be locked down that hallway. There's some kind of side access hallways. This lobby space will be used as the commons, as you kind of come out of there. I'll kind of show you as I get closer to over here, there's stairs that come up here. This has overhead doors that allows this upper area to be closed off. And then this comes down as well, which then closes this area. There's bathrooms underneath this kind of blue wall here. There's bathrooms back behind here. And then this is the concession stand located right here, right to the right through that's the library. So it's the heart of the building during the school day. and then serves as the commons and the lobby space for the gymnasium, for night events, but it is able to have different modes, so we can close off educational wings, we close off media center, and then as I look around kind of back here, we can close off that lower education wing as well. So going into the kind of the multi-purpose room, this is missing a little bit of structure in here, but this will have kind of a rubber flooring, climbing wall, some basketball hoops and stuff in there. Teaching wall located on that side. That right there is the door that takes you into the office storage room that takes you into the gymnasium. So there's actually kind of connecting doors that connect that multi-purpose room to that gymnasium over there. As I kind of go down this hallway over to the right, those are janitor space, IT closets and storage along here. At the end of this hallway then is, if I turn to the right, is the training room and the kind of official space in there. This is the lower education wing. These the bright boxes are the small group rooms where the small group meetings are at. This is one of the kindergarten rooms. So you can see the casework located in here, the teaching wall with a lot of this furniture as some of the planned furniture. This is that kind of reading nook back here, which has a little bench and storage underneath of it for books, bookcases along here. As I kind of pan over to the left here, there's little folders, tack board. This takes you into the small group room. These are the two toilets then that enter into that space. This is that small group, which has sliding doors on tracks that allows it to just kind of be open, able to meet with, 2 to 4 students in there, connects you over to the other classroom. You can kind of see the finishes in here. This is a hard surface finish, and then more of it's a carpet, but it's actually a pseudo hard surface carpet. And I can show you the material if you're interested. It's called Kinetics, and so they've been using it actually in locker rooms and things like that because it's slip resistant and works well with water and spills and those types of things. As I look over here, this is a teacher's PLC space, so that would be have kitchenette in there and stuff for break time, but also small group space so the teachers are able to kind of meet in between classes. And then you can kind of see the color scheme. There's really a lot of playful colors in here that kind of goes along with that. Also, the colored boxes in the floor allow for spacing for the students to be able to sit down and have spacing in between them. So the carpet tile functions as the rug that's located in there. Anything else specifically down in this wing you want to see?
Maybe the feature with the carpet, it's tile, so not that one would ever get stained with the Kinetics carpet, but if something happens to a piece of carpet, you don't have to rip up the whole room, you just
Correct.
rip up the tile, the little square, and
Yep.
you put it down.
Yep, exactly. But I try to go quickly back here. And then jump into this space. So competition gymnasium. So you're seeing kind of some of the wild space. There is a little bit of stuff we're working on here yet from a design standpoint. And that would be these kind of acoustic panels located on the side. But you can see bleachers, wrestling mats, the hoops are in the opposition right now, hoops on the side, so how the seating will be for some of this for competition. You can see the windows in here that bring in natural light. They're evenly spread throughout the space to kind of bring natural light in an even amount throughout that. They also will be a frosted type of material, so they're not any piercing type of light in there. You can see the scoreboards. These two doors take you into the locker rooms. Some of the floor and stuff here you can see.
Tori, may I ask you a question? I know that Nick has used the word competitions a lot. But I also see this as a space that's usable for the elementary school. Can you tell us a few ways how you see this space being used?
Yeah, I first saw it immediately since I recessed, right? Like we will be able to have a large motor space all year round, and that's incredible during really, really cold days or rainy days. We will have space for students to run around and play and get that energy out. I also see spaces for assemblies. Right now, we go across the street to the high school for whole school assemblies. And so we've held quite a bit of traffic up crossing the street as an entire building to and from. So to be able to fit all of our kids in one space, had an incredible author in this year already, and all of our students were able to experience that. I think about community and parent events as well. I mean, we have our STEAM night too. We could do art shows, we could do a whole bunch of things to bring in our families and community to see all the awesome things our students are creating to. I think about music concerts, a whole bunch of things that we'll be able to use. So.
Okay, and in the current design, Nick, I know that you took us to the smaller multi-purpose room. But really we're able to achieve physical education needs and have the best of both worlds with a small rec room, and we use rec room, but it's kind of a similar size to the current John Klein gym.
It's almost the exact same size as.
So we have that early childhood space that can be super specialized, but then have this bigger space as an option too.
Yeah, for an entire school.
Yeah.
And one of the things that came up with the DD was at least one of the special education teachers talked about, if this was available during the day, like if there's a student who needs to have a little space, like they could just walk they could be Pac-Man and walk on the red lines or the blue lines or something. Because the gym class might be in the other space. And so even though it's large, that's sometimes what kids need. It's just a little place to motor around.
Think about like even something as simple as school pictures. Like, school pictures this year were set up at the library, and I was initially told, oh, this isn't tall enough for our lights. Do you have a common space that we can use? No, we don't. This is it. And the common would not be appropriate for school photos either, just because people are going in and out, but we could still have PE class while we do photos. We could do hearing tests while we still can have specials in PE. There are a lot of things that we dual purpose the gym for that we won't have to do anymore.
Could you tell us the dimensions of this gym? We heard that the multi-purpose room is about the same size as the present cafeteria / gym. What are the dimensions of this gymnasium?
So this is the construction documents. Trying to so any large dimension string across here. Here we go. 114 feet across that direction. So that takes you over to here. So we're 7, maybe 8 feet off of that. So it's about 106 that way. And 115 the other direction. So nearly square.
So if you took off one set of bleachers, how wide would that was the other alternative, was to have bleachers on one side. So really what we're adding is the width of one the bleachers on one side. So what's that?
So the dimensions you gave me were of the whole room, not the court.
Yeah,
right?
so of the whole room. So the original kind of layout was about 10,000 square feet. So it's another 3,000 square feet bigger. Yeah.
And
The width of the bleachers from the bottom to the top is roughly.
From here to here. Is that
Yeah.
what you're saying?
Yeah.
Right, these are, well, you can kind of see there's dimension strings here. So right there, 17 feet, so close to 16 to 18 feet, yep.
So between the original small concept, which is essentially what the middle school is, to switch to this is 16 to 18 feet.
Yep.
That doesn't seem like enough to really have much of an impact on the footprint of the building.
Yeah, and we were able to also get back to about the 90,000 square feet that we were originally at from a design standpoint.
And what's the seating capacity of this gymnasium? How many people?
You remember when we were at exactly 1,300?
1,300?
Mhm. And I know that we have talked, I don't want to spend ad nauseam talking about the gym, but I just want to revisit some highlights from this last year of our conversations. I've been in the middle school gym during a wrestling meet when both boys and girls are wrestling at the same time, and there was simply not enough room for the athletes and the coaches and the mats and the people watching. And this gym would be big enough to have like plenty of room for people to sit on both sides of the gym, 2 wrestling meets. Obviously, this gymnasium is not going to become a primary gym for either the middle school or the high school, but this is intended as a supplementary space, as the Decorah School District is short on gym spaces right now and also is in a situation of not being in a conference. And our athletic director, Adam Riley, has done a great job of creatively scheduling schools to come from far away. So having a supplementary gym space could potentially host both teams coming from a town from far away to have some at the high school or middle school and some at this school as kind of a secondary, but also adds tremendous benefit to the elementary school. Yeah.
Can I also just add, currently at John Klein in our gym, we have 2 to 3 community events happening at nighttime in the evening.
2 to 3 events per week.
Yep.
Right.
And so like one of those events happens right after school and some of our students are waiting for their turn to be in class. And so right now they're just in the hallway waiting. This space would allow for them to all be in that same space too.
And to meet the community need for evening events.
Yep.
Mhm.
Is the existence of the extra side of the gymnasium contributing to the requirement of parking spaces that would be needed for the facility?
No.
We need those parking spaces just for the elementary school. This isn't adding that or causing that.
Yeah, and I don't have the parking requirements memorized, but to even, there's not school, possibly not a school in the state that has parking on site for a total high school athletic event. It just is so much parking. It's, you know, just think about that. If there's 1,300 people at that, even if you divide that by 2 and there's 650 cars. There's not a 600, you can't even park 650 cars out at Walmart. I mean, it's like, there's just not that much. So it spreads, it moves, it goes down the streets. And you guys know this, there's parking in the south. There's parking for the football and it goes everywhere. Yeah.
Mhm.
So then just to follow up on that, just for our discussion, just for us, something to think about. So there's 1,300 people at an event at this gymnasium, and then we have an event also at our high school at the same time where there are 1,000 people. I don't know what our high school seats, 1,000?
Mhm.
Is it 1,000?
Currently seats over 1,500.
1,500. So then where would all those people park when we do 2 events at the same time?
That's a good question. I think, as we've heard from several community members, you know, that have talked about parking. We have the North Alley parking lot. We would have the parking that we've talked about tonight that is installed to meet city code, plus a couple extra. And then we have the parking lot by the bank and across the street and at the high school. But that's a good question.
And an important one, I guess I'm going to say, because I mean, the point of this is that we want to be able to have 2 events going on at the same time. Otherwise, the event would just be at the high school.
Right.
So that will be, and typically the parking lots are full for a basketball game or other events. So then,
Yeah.
I mean, where will this overflow go?
I don't know that it's true that the North Alley parking lot is fully utilized, like at the, when I'm, and I spend many nights at the high school, and I see many faces in the room tonight, also every night at the high school. But during those high school events, I know that the traffic kind of spreads everywhere around the high school and the neighborhoods, but the North Alley, maybe not so much, but I know I personally never park in North Alley for an event there, but maybe that North Alley parking lot would be utilized in that time when there would be events at both, and that would be better utilized. And that would be a nice place for that overflow parking to go to access the new elementary school.
I would just say, what a delightful problem it would be if we had
That many people in town.
2,800 people coming to our events.
Yeah.
I'll take that. That's sign me up.
So Nick, I'm just curious, we've talked a lot about safety. Who's your internal consultant, or who's the person that we've been passing safety plans by?
And like an engineer that would be checking safety as far as which piece of safety are you interested?
I'm thinking more internally. I'm not thinking about buses and car drop-offs. I mean, we've been talking about we can close off this section and that section and blah, like, but who's the person statewide or internally, or an engineer, or who's the person who's reviewing this for safety?
Are you expecting that there is a state person that is in charge of safety?
That's not what my
or-
question was.
Okay, because from our standpoint, it's more practices that we've seen done at schools throughout the state. So that would come from similar to us designing classrooms and us designing schools. So the practices that we utilize here are ones that we're using in other schools. We don't have a
But
safety
this would be a
engineer.
pretty unique design for a pre-K two building. I don't know of a single one in the state that would be similar to this. So I think that's where my question flows through.
I think we have discussed in past meetings, there are many school districts that have K-12 and.
Yeah, but that's not what this building is. I understand what you're saying, but that's not what this building is. So my question is just about who's reviewing it?
Is there, well,
We are.
is there,
We are not experts at that.
is there,
That is
do
not our
experts
jobs.
exist that could have an extra layer of? I don't know, does that even
I mean,
exist?
there are people that feel that they have expertise in school security design. I don't know of engineers that, or any company that specifically comes in and helps you with security and safety design. There definitely is best practices that are talked about, but even, and you can think about that yourself, like what your best practices has been and how that's evolved
Right,
as different things have happened over the years. And there's a lot of different schools of thought along that.
Okay.
You know, whether we're trying to close the whole school down, trying to, you know, get rid of glass and make it more secluded and be able to like put the students and the people in secure places where they can't be seen, which has the opposite effect of views to the outside and natural light and those types of things. So currently, a lot of the designs is more of open transparency, eyes on the street, seeing what's going on, because safety and security is not just the single act of a person coming in and intruding. A lot of times it's bullying, a lot of times it's domestic violence or upset parents coming to get kids, and that sometimes flies in the face of some of the other security things that happen. So it's very complicated. That is for sure. And definitely something that we have at the top of our mind as we design all the spaces.
Okay.
Yeah.
okay,
So a little bit more on this, we're kind of looking a little bit As we come up here, this is the stairs, that's kind of more in the open space here. Bring you up here so I can kind of show you. So there's a landing area here, some small group rooms. This is then those gates that would come down, that would close off this upper level during any type of event or something, public event going on in the commons. Right there, this is bathrooms. Over to the left, this is the kitchen space. You can kind of see there. So there's two lines with, so you're seeing actually the kitchen equipment and stuff in there and how that would work. Back in there would be where the prep would be located. Then I have a bathroom located right here. Some of these really cool, fun graphics that are getting integrated into that, and also even the flooring and those types of things to kind of represent the water and stuff kind of going through that space.
I do love the colors that you chose or the staff chose, or, you know,
Yeah.
it's very bright and cheerful and, brings you right in and makes you feel good.
Yeah. Yeah. So collaborative space down this hall, kind of out in here, you can see the lockers, which are kind of a shorter height, which allows for visibility over that. This is one of the classrooms then for first grade. You can see all the casework located in here. Just large amounts of storage and white space and pinup space. This again is that kind of tree house space located in here. Sinks in this space. And then also these have these small group rooms located right here, which has again, sliding doors that allow you to open that up and have it be part of your classroom or break between those spaces. Trying to think what else you would like to see.
How wide is this hallway? I mean, those are really wide hallways.
So you can see that door is 6 feet wide right there. So this space from here to here is 6 feet. And then the kind of way that the lockers are done, it moves the students off of the pathway of how they would travel through there, which allows them to kind of be close and you know, over and away from the traffic. So that's kind of a design that we use for this. This looking through here, so this is some breakout space outside of the classrooms that's open for the classrooms. This is the art room located in here. And so this is the glass wall that looks over to the bluff to the north. Some really cool kind of leaf-like elements, neat exposed ceiling in here. And then this has the carpet squares in there for the students to sit in their seat before they get some of the teaching, before they go over and create some amazing artwork over there as they look out at the nature. And I'm zooming around here. Is this too much?
Well, if there's, yeah.
What's that?
We're getting there.
Is there anything else that the board wants to see inside the building in this graphics view before we transition to other discussion?
Can you see the library? Because you're right there.
Since I'm right here, here is the library, so you can kind of see the windows. This is a overhead door that allows this whole space to open up and allow this media center to be open. We've got books displayed here. This is the collection space. This is the desk, checkout desk. There's workspace back behind here. And then over into this area is the kind of classroom space where with more views out to the north, which kind of shows the bluff space up there. These are those special ed rooms that can also pop out and use this. This hallway takes you back to some of the intervention spaces located up there. Thank you.
This is really beautiful, Nick. Thank you for having this ready for us tonight. This
Yeah.
was a treat after talking for a long time. Next, I'd like to transition. I want to give every board member a time to ask questions on their own, or maybe share questions that they've heard from the community, or things, have the opportunity for us each to individually bring up to talk about together as a board. And I want to be respectful of everyone's day tomorrow, and it is almost 9:30. So if you'd like, I'm happy to have a timer and start with 5 minutes and give a little thumbs up, or maybe none of us have that much to say, I don't know, but we can begin, and I'll take a volunteer if anyone would like to start.
I can start.
Okay.
First I want to say thanks to Nick,
Yeah.
for driving us around through the building digitally, but also, the attention to detail within classroom spaces. It's been fun to see those plans, might come to some fruition, the big reveal Sim was referencing, but, I prepared some thoughts so that I wouldn't have to think on my feet earlier. So since March 25, we've been proceeding with design of the elementary school with a few moments of reflection by the board. We've reviewed timelines and budgets, been told that decisions have to be made now, but the board has rarely heard from the public or actively collaborated on the design directly with interested stakeholders. Just point out at our audience, we have a city council member here.
Make sure we've got
Yeah.
three.
Great. Thank you for being here, city council members.
Since the presentation of the building and architecture plans to the city, there's been an outpouring of concern for the project and a tremendous voicing of displeasure from the city and community members regarding the lack of transparency and collaboration. I'm not going to rehash everything they've already written to us, but I empathize with them. I want to take time tonight to share some government statistics and a story from a parent of a student currently enrolled in our schools. The US government has not published recent data on school shootings, but I'm going to refer to an analysis from 2009 to 2019 published by the Government Accountability Office, or GAO, which was published in June 2020. The GAO study noted that half of school shootings were committed by current or former students. It also noted that students that are suburban, rural, wealthier, and low minority schools had more school-targeted shootings. The study concludes that such shootings were most fatal and most commonly committed by students.
Erin, I'm gonna.
No, you said we could have time to talk. I spent a lot of time.
Okay, and you feel like this is important to the construction project?
I do.
Okay.
The most violent of these incidences occur in lower elementary buildings. Statistics show that key factors in school shootings are access to and understanding of a building. As represented in the GAO study, this includes graduates and current students who have had access or had recent access to the building and know how it functions. Please note that school shootings have only increased in frequency since the time of that study being published by the government. More recent data from Brady United notes that 360,000 students in the US have experienced gun violence since 1999, a number which only continues to grow. Statistically, the threat of a school shooting incident in our district is real. As a parent, I don't want to think about this possibility, but ignorance is not an option. Mitigating school shooting threats, including those posed by our own older students and recent graduates, is our job. And the building we are designing absolutely fails to meet that essential need. We're proposing to build a competition gym and a pre-K through 2 space, where students will have regular access for the public into our building. We're proposing that high school students become familiar walking into the building, housing our youngest and most vulnerable learners for practices and games. We're building locker rooms for teens and young adults in the building intended to serve 3 to 8-year-olds. We're doing exactly the opposite of the recommendations from the government survey and from school advocacy groups, school safety advocacy groups. I've not heard of a local public safety office that has reviewed our plans, but I have some grievous concerns without their input. I've heard from and spoken with a lot of people over the last week about our proposed lower elementary school building. Of those concerns, one person's experience spoke the clearest to me about why we need to reevaluate our plans. A parent reached out after learning about what we were proposing to build, having heard little to nothing about the plans since the bond, which they voted in favor of. They have multiple students in the district, but their experience hasn't been entirely positive. Their first and foremost concern is student safety. is a personal issue for them as their elementary age child was touched inappropriately on the in-town bus by a high school student who should not have been on that bus. The account isn't public due to the nature of what occurred, but it certainly illustrates one of the many risks our district takes by intentionally creating a mixed K-2 building and a high school space. The current plans would lead to a lower elementary building that would have high school students in it regularly. The conversations that they're going to have are one thing, but we're putting in unsupervised physical proximity for these students where anything can happen. If not our board, who is looking out for the physical safety, mental state, and emotional well-being of our young students when we construct this building and gymnasium, it is our job. It's a huge mental toll for that parent to hear that motivated high school students would have access to the building where their children are supposed to be safe. It's only one example of things already happening in Decorah. Yeah, but I think 5 minutes is a very short period of time for the hour and a half.
Okay, let all the rest of us have our 5 minutes, please.
You're welcome to have it. I'm probably the first person at work tomorrow at 5:30.
Do you anticipate needing
2 minutes?
Okay, let's finish up.
The mental strain for parents to hear that high school students would have access to their building where children are supposed to be safe. This is only one example of things already happening in Decorah. The school district is not immune to school safety issues. What happened to that student on our bus shouldn't have happened, but as a district, it's our responsibility to put school safety at the forefront to keep incidents from it happening in the future. I am pro-gym, but I'm not pro-gym in this space. This is a high school space in an elementary setting. This is the wrong place and the wrong time. It needs to be built as an elementary school first and foremost. I'm personally involved in the process. I served on the facility committee where we did not discuss a competition gym like this. As others have shared, and as I learned in the planning process, it was the least important thing our community advocated for. More importantly, I'm the only board member whose child might use this school. Owen will be a second grader in the fall of 2027. If we delay this project to reevaluate, he may not get to use the new building. But by delaying the project to prioritize safety, every student who comes after him will be in the best possible elementary school. One that was built and designed specifically for them to live their fullest lives with safety at the forefront. I'm willing to sacrifice the experience my child might have in this new school for other children to be in the right building. It's time to put the elementary students first. Let's find another place to build our competition gym. Let's follow through on the school board's promises to the city and the design of our school. And let's build something important that we can rest assured is the best, safest elementary school possible. I speak out as a concerned elementary school parent on behalf of other elementary school parents, for former and current teachers and administrators, and for elected members of the public in our community. Let's build this right. It's time to revise the current plans.
I don't have a reply to that.
Well, I do, I guess.
Would you like to go next?
I'll go next.
Okay.
I would first like to ask the professionals in the room who are going to be tasked with operating in this building for the next 20 years. Do you have any concerns about this facility that could be remedied by waiting a year?
Waiting a year is what you said?
Yeah.
Can you go into more detail?
Well, if we pull the plug on this and go back as is being advocated, we're missing an entire construction season.
Yep.
The school next would be in the fall of 27, the same John Klein that I have dreaded students going into every August for the last 16 years. Is there anything to be gained in your minds from starting over?
We could get into a new building tomorrow and feel like it. So the fall of 27 will be already later than I think the community even would have liked.
But you've got a great deal of experience, both of you and Nick, in designing. Do you have ideas on how security could be improved in any way, shape, or form? I mean, could we be doing better than what we are?
Yeah, so I don't see our building being used by anyone other than elementary students during the school day.
And I do think it's kind of a challenge because in some ways we want that collaboration as well. So it is tricky. Like right now, we try to collaborate with the high school. I mean, we do a STEAM event and we just had this huge one in the spring where we did like reading buddies and STEAM activities and things like that. So it is really hard because safety is a priority, absolutely the biggest priority. But we also want to build those very obviously supervised positive relationships, mentors, things like that too. So finding that good balance to make sure that everything is supervised when they are in the building, I think would be a priority for me. And I think, again, a big part of that is they're not going to be in there in this capacity during the day, right? So hopefully we can continue to have those big relationships, but they are extremely supervised and very structured and set up. We do reading buddies or working in a mentoring program, things like that. So keeping the collaboration, but in a very supervised, intentional way. And then I think absolutely that is a big thing that staff have shared, making sure that we can close it down when we do have events so that we do not have people in there, because I agree 100%. We should not have people roaming around our elementary school, not supervised. But my understanding is that is the intent, with being able to kind of shut everything down, because I think that was a huge point brought up by a lot of teachers. So to me, making sure that when we do, it's intentional, we're working to collaborate and we're doing that in a very supervised way, and then keeping this separate shut down. In the evenings.
Can I ask a question?
No, sorry.
I know it's
Continue.
not a comment.
No, there's no interaction between the public.
Sorry.
This is for the board conversation, and occasionally board members will call on administrators or staff in the room.
But you haven't been hit on the school shootings and what is being put into the building to.
I'm sorry, we're not having
But
public
there's
back and forth.
discussion about
Ron,
that.
please
Yes.
continue.
So I guess the point I'm getting at is that you've had interactions in the past, we've had the collaborations. What is being proposed here to have high school kids in there at 7 o'clock on Friday night isn't really bringing any more interactions whatsoever, is it? What am I missing?
Are we guaranteeing that there will never
This
be
is-
practice in this building before school?
Yes,
I don't think that's been.
That's not been discussed in any way, shape, or form. There are no policies in place for that.
I wanna, Ron, you have
Yeah.
one more minute.
let me reclaim my time.
Appreciated actually the time on this. I mean, I think this is the first time we've really seen this building.
Okay.
And I think that, I think there's creating a tension that doesn't need to be there by putting a time.
I agree, I'm okay with
Okay.
open.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Nick, is there anything more that would the school be any safer if we waited a year and redesigned it without a gym with bleachers on both sides?
I said nothing about waiting a year. I'm saying.
Well, necessarily, if we start over, we're missing a construction season and costs are gonna go up. So, Nick, do you want me to ask that again?
Yeah,
If we pull the plug, redesign and choose to eliminate the full-size gym with bleachers on both sides and go back to the gym with bleachers on one side, would we have a safer facility design a year from now than we do now?
this question as we were talking about, is there somebody that reviews and talks about,
Yeah.
how we could make it safer? It could be a practice to go to someone, that could review that. That would be one step. Sure, these things are integrated to make it as safe as we possibly can as we design, because none of us in the room obviously want to make an unsafe situation. The crossing of, there was discussion of public events, how great it is to have people come into the commons. There was discussion of, on the site, we're gonna have it try to be a community site where we would have, if there's in-town events and they're coming on site. The discussion of having the site in the middle of the community where there's constant action with everything going on. I think you're gonna struggle big time to seclude the students from everything that's going on in your community in a facility located where it's currently at. I don't know exactly, how much after school program stuff that's currently going on. You mentioned two or three things. Our typical elementary school design, I've participated in designing, 5 or 6 in Waterloo schools, for instance. They have their own challenges in different ways. Their gymnasium is made big enough so that they can have rec in there. And that's almost always a typical situation to make sure you can have community rec, after school things, located within a school, no matter what the age of the students are in the school. The piece that this is competition, I think, is something that needs to be worked on as far as what time that is happening and how that works with the interaction with the time committed by the parents in the space. I am not personally a strong believer of segregating all different things, like this age and these things, because I believe that a lot of these medium to small size school districts, the student is best formed by all these different things going on in their small community. And some of those things fly in the face of security and safety and that.
Yeah. Well, and I do want to honor the complicated time that we're in. And I'm sorry that we're all living with a lot of fear. It's not easy. I mean, we're seeing stuff that's happening around the nation. And I think that focusing on that fear doesn't serve us well. The truth is that there are people in and out of our school right now. The community is using our building right now, and it has for years. And while I hear and I acknowledge those fears, I do believe that the building that we built is what's best. Especially from the concept that I reviewed with the bond, I feel like this is more secure. Where it is able to be shut down.
Have we ever looked at a different plan? One that had the gym put somewhere else?
The board voted earlier in the spring with a majority vote to upgrade this gym 3,000 square feet. The facility review ahead of the project showed community use of the gym. So it's not like this, we voted to make the gym a little bit bigger in order to host a competition, but the original gym was built with bleachers to have competition. So I feel like our beautiful school project is getting clouded by an issue that has always been there. And that is existing today.
The programs they're talking about after school are designed for the kids that use the school building, though. They're K-2 programs from
No.
Park and Rec.
No, they're talking about. Tori, can you tell us?
Some of them.
Can you tell us examples of
Yeah.
how the community uses the building today?
Yeah, we have, student dancers, and so those come from different buildings in the district typically. We also have, social dancing, which are adults.
Ballroom dance
evening,
kind of thing.
yeah, and then Parks and Rec, like you mentioned.
And Park and Rec is adult people recreating in addition to children, or is it mostly kids
This one is
programs?
mostly student programs,
Mhm.
but also I have not been here very long, and so that's just what I've experienced so far.
Right.
Can I ask just one question? I think one of the sticking points, Aaron, like you're alluding to, is the warning. That was that.
Well, my question a couple minutes ago was, have we considered another design where the gym is separate from the elementary school? So you could have the elementary school, you can have the gym, and they don't interplay together. They could, but they don't. Have we ever considered a different design?
That question came up to our design team and how much it would cost. And it would add a lot of cost to the project to build it separately. We also talked about, Nick talked about the timing of constructing a building while the other building is in place.
I don't think we changed the
There has-
footprint of the building by shifting it.
There has always been a gym that was planned in this building, and I'll just leave it at that. I have nothing more to say about that, but we did ask for a price estimate for building the gym separately, and it was going to be a lot.
That number was never shared publicly, nor did we review anything between all of us. I think that's the frustration. Why not get another example to look at?
If I may, I believe that we have done that. We have sat at this very table late into the evening on prior occasions, listening to you advocate for that.
For school
And
safety.
taken votes and
Yeah.
voted to proceed along this course. And here we are again, nearing 10 o'clock, and we're just getting started. I think this question has been asked and answered.
I want
I
to
think the
remind,
public are the ones that are asking the
Okay.
question now. That's why I've raised the question
Okay.
again.
okay,
It's not my own personal prerogative. Every single person I've talked to since the city meeting is asking about safety in this building.
okay,
Every single one. As I stand outside to pick up a kid yesterday, it was the question asked to me.
mhm,
As I walk around campus at Luther, it's the question asked to me.
okay.
That's the question everyone wants to know about.
So Nick talked us through the building tonight, and we did talk about safety, about how things would be closed on. What other safety concerns do you have? Or what other safety questions do you have, other than like where doors are gonna be locked?
I've already noted my questions. I've noted what the government tells us we should be doing from a safety and accountability standpoint.
Okay,
I don't know what more I can share.
okay.
I have just a few thoughts, I guess, to continue on.
Mhm.
We have heard from people. I've had spoke with, one of the city council members on a telephone conversation. And it did have me maybe backtrace and go back through things. And I do think the fencing, lowering that, making that more appealing. Making sure we have enough gates. I do think we want to make sure we're good partners with our neighbors. I think we need to explore, I mean, we're 2 years away from this project being completed. So we have some time to work out some of the stuff, but I do think, having lights in the tennis court should be a pretty good priority. I mean, I don't know how we go about that. I don't think it should be a part of the bond, but I think it should be future discussions. It would limit, I mean, those lights are on a lot and it does limit how that uses, and I haven't been on here that long, so how that is done right now, I'm not sure, and how that will continue, I'm not sure, but, you know, we have the turf as a bid alternate on that side, you know. So we don't know if that's gonna be turf, and if it helps negotiations to have that be grass, you know, that's something that can be done. So as doing that, I went back through a lot of the same documents you presented at the start of your meeting, and the conceptual plan, that picture of the layout of the property is, obviously it's not the same, but it's eerie similar to where the building placement is, and I look at the walking path to get from town to the school. Obviously, the building kind of sits there, so you would have to go around it as you do now. And then reading those documents, you know, it says in there that you are gonna have a gymnasium appropriate size for competition, practices, community recreational leagues, would include a performance area for concerts and events. You know, so we had that in there. So we were gonna have practices in that building at the time of this and some competitions. So I feel better about what we voted on to what we're proposing. You know, and the last thing I'd like to say is, I mean, I understand we've had a lot of questions, but it wasn't that long ago, we were at our VE meeting here and we finished up. And Aaron commented on the end of how well he felt that meeting went, and I agreed. I felt we had great conversation during that meeting and great discussion, so I just want to remind us that we can, I welcome everybody's opinion, but you know, it is important that we work together, and but kind of all I had.
We have heard from we have received quite a few emails. I have, and it looked like everybody was receiving many of the same emails from the public and from, 4 city council members. Which is important because we have a site plan that does need to be passed by our city's planning and zoning and by our city council. And so I guess I would like for us all to take a breath and maybe slow down a little bit on what we're doing. I think that the people in Decorah, we care about our students, our schools, our community. People are speaking out because they care. And everything that we have done as a board has been because we have our hearts in the right place. People who want a competition gym and see a need for an additional gym in this community, their hearts are in the right place. We really can use another gym in this community. They're just, I think the needs assessment for that just shows that we really can use one. For park and rec, for the community, for club sports, for our school. I firmly believe that competition gym smack dab in the middle of an elementary school is the wrong place. It's just the wrong place, and it wouldn't have happened that way, except that the footprint of the building had already been designed by the time that this came up at our board meeting last March. And so then the plan ended up just taking what was already in the middle and the gym and the lobby and the heart of the school, which was a good place for it, and just supersizing it, which makes 2 separate schools really, as far as the kids are concerned. You have first and second graders way on that side of that cafeteria right there. And you have the pre-K and kindergarten way on this side of the school. They have separate playgrounds. They're way on opposite sides of the school. It feels like really 2 separate schools with high school and middle school areas in between. And it just feels, I know I voted for it last March. I did not do my due diligence on it, and I've regretted it since. I think that it is the wrong place for this gymnasium, though I can see the need. And I think it also has put us in a bit of a budget crunch. So we have well spent that $38 million from the bond. Plus, the plan for Pepple and Save money that, in addition to that 38 million, is at least 5.4 million in addition that we are planning to spend for this building. And then we have bid alternates that would be on top of that. This has become, not by any of our faults, a hugely expensive building. And then we have tariffs that we might be dealing with. We don't know how these bids are gonna come in. I mean, it's a scary time, and I feel like with the new information that has come to us with the possibility of, with the reality of our budget, I really think we should take a step back for not a year, but for at least a few weeks or a month and really look at this and really think about this. Is this, and talk with the city. We need more communication with the city to work on the expectations from the city. How can we meet our needs? How can we meet their needs? And bring everyone back together in our town so that we don't end up with this rift between people in the town who see it one way and the other group sees it the other way, and everyone has really good intentions. No one's wrong. It's just seeing it from different perspectives. And I'd like us to take a step back, take a few weeks, maybe take this budget meeting that we have set up to where we are gonna be looking at the final budget and the specs for putting out bids, putting that off for a little while longer, and getting together with our city people and work through these differences that we have. I think that we can work through them fairly easily.
I think
I'm still not sold on a competitions gym in this building. I think that the parking is, to me, a big issue. I mean, some people see it as not an issue at all, but this is bringing a lot of cars together all in one area. I also see that I lost my train of thought. I also see that just the money that we are spending on this, even though, yes, it would cost more to build it separately later, it's costing a lot more. I mean, it's costing a lot more than what we'd expected to spend to include it in this elementary school. It doesn't take a 13,000, how big is this gym? 13,000 square foot gym for rainy day recess. And I totally get the rainy day recess thing. I mean, I've had recess duty doing that. I totally get it. We don't need that big of a gym for that. We do need a large gym for it. And I think that all of the ideas that you have of ways to use it are fantastic, but we don't need seating for 1,300 students in order to have a concert or a book talk or people, you know, special events at the school. I think given the budget realities that we're facing, I just think that we need to take a second look at this. We need to just, not tonight, but step back and think about it and reevaluate the plan a bit. Though I think you have done a fantastic job in there. I think we got right into this discussion and didn't give you enough positive feedback. Your plan is beautiful. It really is. And you have done a great job of listening to folks and the staff and incorporating their needs and desires. The things that we had to cut and change for the thematically with the building, you really have done a fantastic job of making those changes, but still keeping a lot of artistic, eye-catching quality to the building. So I commend you for that. I think we need to take a step back for a short amount of time and open up doors of communication, let the temperature settle down between the city and us so that we can come together and maybe have some more communication and get these wrinkles ironed out.
I think it's possible. for us to discuss. I appreciated the council's feedback during the meeting that Tim presented in early October. We've barely talked about any of the recommendations that we gave. And I know that as school board members, we occasionally hear from people in the community. And I know that when people are sharing vulnerable stories or feelings or fears, I know that we all feel deep empathy for that. I am deeply concerned, Carol and Aaron, that we've had at least 3 unanimous board votes to move forward with the final design of this project. And we are now at the moment where the plan needs to be reviewed for us to begin construction. And I'm worried because of opinions rather than educating the community about the project and educating people about how it's going to be used. You know, this project will go nowhere with our role on the school board is for us to design the building. And it's the role of planning and zoning and the council to make sure that we are following code and moving forward. I'm happy to discuss at the board table ways that we can help appease the council. I'm happy to have conversations with the council in this next month before they approve it. I'm happy to consider lighting the tennis courts. Right now, we currently have an easement with the city for shared maintenance, which is why we haven't talked about it.
A 2080 agreement.
Or a 2080 agreement. But I feel like fear is derailing our project. And it's our duty to the district. They passed a bond. We had an incredible community of volunteers come together, and 2 years feels like too long to me. And I feel like if we take a month to talk about it, I don't know that that will get us anywhere. I think that we can achieve something that we're all happy with at right now. And I think that by delaying this project, we would have kids not in a new school for another year or maybe 2. Nick, let me ask you this. If the board made the decision to somehow change the project, to not include the gym, that would mean redesigning. Can you tell us what that would do? What the time and money that would affect the project?
This is the construction schedule and the design and bidding schedule. The hope was that, in this scenario that we're bidding this project in January of next year.
Mm-hmm.
And then getting that on contract, looking to try to start, in the February, March area here. The
Mhm.
construction schedule shows this then as this plays out from 2026 through 2027 to try to get completion of this in the summer of 27. This then shows like the demolition of the old school then, and then would be the tennis courts. If this date slides back, this date probably starts to slide back, and if it gets past the beginning of the school year, then it becomes a question of do you turn around and try to transition in the middle of the school year? Or is it a winter break, or is it the whole next summer? That would be the reality of pushing the schedule. The schedule already on this side became compacted from the length of time that's some of the VE process and those types of things that happen inside of that.
Mhm.
Could you go back to 2027 again, please? So the blue there on 2027, that is what months? August,
It is, May, June, yeah.
and the blue is what?
Major.
May,
It's
June,
move and switch schools, that.
May and June. So there is a bit of a couple months anyway, we have a little bit of a leeway as far as the schedule goes. We're looking at May and June moving.
As long as everything stays on schedule.
Yeah, if it's to stay as it is, this is how it's currently laid out. To try to get a situation where we're getting to the end of the school year and then they're able to move from their current school into the new school. What would end up happening is that if it pushed back is there'll be some in between time there where it's they can't move into the new space until almost the end of summer, probably at least.
So Nick, I feel like what you're suggesting to take a month to talk. You've both talked about your displeasure with the use of the gym. So I'm guess in a month. We've had a unanimous board vote to move forward with these plans and with the gym. Do you imagine building use? Do you imagine that vote changing, or do you imagine what if we took out the big gym and you had to? Carol talked about not liking how far apart wings of the school were. If you redesign the school, how much time would that take?
Taking the gym out and the pieces associated with it would probably take 3 to 4 months, I would say at least. Yeah, and that would really be back to then would a gym project happen somewhere else, which ultimately is different than the elementary, so. But there would want to be explored that option, right? As if it's not here, then where would it be? I'm assuming.
Right.
You know, if it's known as a need in the community and there's been some commitment that let's try to get into the competition gym, then where would it go? We did definitely look at, you know, the option talked about from a square footage standpoint, because the challenge with that and the ability that we have with the current design is that we can use space like the cafeteria and the restrooms and the entry and the concessions, of course, would move to the other side. You know, all of that, you know, gym over here and school over here kind of layout. It's really a standalone building then at that standpoint, which you're talking then about another, you know, it's probably 18,000 square feet by the time you're done. And then the multi-purpose room is not large enough to bring the whole school into. And so then would you then bring kids into a competition gym that was separated over to the side?
Yeah, absolutely not. That would not be feasible.
Well, you do it now, they walk them across the street, so and bring them to the high school, which intermingles the elementary and high school kids.
I don't think we solved any of the, I don't mean to interrupt you because you're in, go ahead.
No, I to say that we didn't look at that, we didn't put a floor plan together that showed what that could look like. Well, most of that has to do with, we did do the square footage, and that would easily probably be at least twice as much as the uptick that you saw with that. Because we did the diagram of the amount of square footage that it would add to make this one and the surrounding spaces into competition size, which was in that 8,000 square foot total in the building as a whole. Which was just 3,000 to the gym. And then it was the other classroom type spaces.
Do we have I mean, we passed the bond. Is there any sort of time frame on when that bond has to? We could,
Yeah, when we borrow, the funds. As soon as you borrow, I think the threshold is 15 million. You got 3 years to get the bond, you got 3 years to get the building completed. So the first part of borrowing the funds was, November. Budget, board agenda item. But if we don't borrow, if we borrow less than 15 million, we don't have a 3-year time frame. So I think Travis was looking at 10 million to get us started.
And then if we're scheduled to take this to the planning and zoning.
The site plan was submitted and it goes to.
When do they make their decision?
November 3rd is the first meeting. I'd look it up and it sounds like November. Travis, could you help me?
Sure, so if I may,
Yes.
when the first Wednesday in November is Board of Adjustment, or
That's right.
variances needed for the site plan for consideration. So that's the first Wednesday of the month of November at, that is 5:15 PM. Second meeting would be planning and zoning consideration. That is the second Monday of the month, which is why I'm not able to come to any of your meetings. That is at 5:30 PM. And then the council consideration would be third Monday of the month, that's November 17th at 5:45 PM.
I mean, we've had emails from 4 people from the city council with issues with.
Well, I think.
This, thank you, with issues with this plan. So what I'm saying is that I think that we should take a step back, have some communication with people in the city to look at the issues that have been brought up with the plan in hopes that we could possibly get some idea at least of whether they're gonna pass this plan at the end of November. Otherwise, we're being set back anyway. By at least a month. I mean, if they don't pass our plan in November, then we're back to going back and making changes and then taking it to the next month to the city.
I completely agree that it's important to have good communication and to work together as a community to find something that we're both happy with. From the city council site perspective, the only concern that I have about some of the arguments that have been shared is that they are referring to the North Alley plan that had elements that were never part of the bond. Meaning a sidewalk through campus. I mentioned before, they talked about being concerned about lights for tennis. That's something that we could vote to do tonight, or we could, have intentions to do tonight. We've talked about the fence height. At the start of the meeting, I said that our duty is to serve the students, and I guess I'm not ready to suggest that we make our playgrounds smaller. I think that they are appropriately engineered, and the reason why there are 2 playgrounds is because we need separate needs and separate specifications for the age groups that we're serving, because we have 2 schools coming into one. We have younger kids coming in.
I totally agree with you on the playgrounds, totally.
So, what other things do you think that we can resolve through conversations too? And I'm happy, I guess I'm willing to take the risk. If we are able to make some modifications tonight that we know that the city was interested in, I'm motivated to work together to, I don't want to break open meetings time, but I'm happy to sit down and talk with council members in the meantime to answer other questions. I feel like we covered everything. I don't know what else I would add that we didn't cover.
I think the green space is the main issue.
So that would mean redesigning the building? Is that what you're suggesting? Or
I
parking?
don't know how else we could get more green space. And I don't know the difference between the green space and usable green space there is now. Which I walked off and measured this week, and it's more than an acre that there is now just in, the green space behind the school. I'd be interested to know what, and I think the city council would be interested to know too, what is that usable green space behind the school? Is there enough room for citywide activities that they now have on that site?
Is turf considered usable green space or not? I mean, I'm just asking. I mean, to me, turf and green.
It is, but that would be, it's in a separate area than the other, so that would mean that there would be two separate, maybe sometimes two separate areas would be what they would want. I don't, that's why I'm saying we need to have more communication.
Well, let me take another crack at this. There are two totally separate concerns that have been raised. The first council member to address this was concerned about preserving their role in the design process and keeping lots of green space to make it more like a park. The plan that was being advocated for, in fact, includes public passageways going right between the school and the playground. The other side is the concern about safety. Well, it's sort of like, if we both have a common enemy, we, join up together. People that are concerned about safety should be, terribly upset by the notion that we're going to run sidewalks through there because we need to have easier access from North Alley to the high school. And people that are concerned about the having green space don't really care about what's inside the building. I authored a letter to the editor, which was, I don't like being adversarial. It's like it's not my nature, but over 16 years of dealing with this, we're this close. And now it's being derailed by concerns that, quite frankly, I do not see how it is possibly less safe because high school kids are in there after 5 o'clock, whatever. The elementary kids are gone. Not to mention that most schools in the state have one building or two buildings, and they're all together all day long, eating in the same cafeteria, having PE classes in the same class, having art classes in the same room. I do not see that either one of these concerns is enough to delay this process. One thing with in that letter to the editor, having been in all of those meetings, as I said in that letter, which I'm sure many have seen, the council has no role in designing an elementary school. That's why we paid them $1.975 million. We bought the land, and the continued reliance upon the plan from the North Alley visioning process is grossly misstated. We never agreed to anything in that plan. In fact, when that plan first came out and it showed closing Claiborne Drive, I got buried with emails. That's probably the one thing I've most ever gotten feedback from the public on. Don't you dare close Claiborne Drive. So to say that this is the holy grail that we must all adhere to is not true. It is the role of the Planning and Zoning Commission to look at the plans that are prepared, look at the conclusions from the city engineer, and see if the plan is consistent with the city ordinance, if it does comply or does not. It is not the role of planning and zoning, or certainly the council, to say, no, I don't like what you're doing. That is not the process in zoning, and I'm not trying to pick a fight with the city. I'm just saying, read the city code, read the state law. Zoning is about, do you comply with an ordinance, not, we don't like what you're doing.
It'd be easier for us to have a conversation directly with. the city
Excuse me,
council.
I'm almost done.
I'm sorry.
I'm almost done. This is the last chance that we're gonna have for a long time to build any kind of facility. We've had a lot of construction in the last 20 years, but finally, we're getting the elementary facility taken care of. And I don't see our population going to the roof demanding another one. So if there is ever to be another gymnasium constructed to meet this need, which the demand for which was probably the second most amount of emails I've ever gotten, and people coming in and telling us that we really need to take advantage of this opportunity. This is our last chance to do this. And if we don't, I think the community will regret that decision for the next many, many years. And I'm quite confident that after hearing this, we will have some of those people who were in before saying, yeah, don't blow this. On a personal note, as probably everybody knows, this is probably my last meeting, except for the 5-minute session in November. And what would disappoint me is if this item that has been such a effort, such a combined effort, looking at a lot of other people in the room who know what I'm saying, and to lose it at this point would be most disappointing. And the last thing I would note is that this is not the way a board is supposed to run without getting too in depth. In the first many years that I was on the board, we would have robust debate, we would vote, and everyone would say the board has voted, the decision has been made, I support the decision of the board even though I voted against it. That's why I'm so frustrated now. We have voted on this many occasions, and we keep on being drugged back in to talk about it again because the people who were not on the prevailing side aren't getting on board. And that, from my perspective, and from all these years of being heavily involved in the Iowa Association of School Boards, etc., is not how a healthy board works. And the fact that we are at this point so close to, in my estimation, delaying or killing this project for a period of time is a tremendous loss for the community. And with that, I will shut my mouth forever in the coming months. someone else will be sitting here, and I wish you all well. Thank you.
I'm gonna go back to the thought I was saying earlier. I see no challenge or dilemma with us sitting down with city council directly, having an open meeting with all of us in a room together to talk about what we all want to see happen. I think the city council and the school board both want to see a new elementary school built. Why don't we put everyone in the same room to make that happen?
So what do you see coming out of that meeting?
I think they have things they would like to talk about, hear about, advocate for. I think we can listen to them. And I think we can do the same thing back. They can ask their questions and we can respond back the other way. Right now, we're just sniping at each other, and it's not working. And I don't think either of us are gonna end up in a place where we're making decisions mutually instead of what we could if we were in the same room. It's actually what I asked for in this meeting tonight, but here we are now, so.
I see that. I appreciate the community spirit, like that suggestion, Aaron, but in my opinion, that's not the role of the city council. And I just want to say that I'm happy to have conversations. But I don't know that a group meeting would be beneficial to the project. Again, I just want to remind us that we've gone through a year's worth of work. And we are now changing course because of strong opinions from the public. And as a school board, this is not the last time that we're going to get strong opinions from the public. And our role is to stay steady in process, to stay steady in our roles, to stay committed to the policies stated in our board policies. And I'm committed to doing that. So I'm wondering, it's late in the evening and I'm wondering what the best next step is. Right now, we have a project that has been submitted to be reviewed. And we have we've had some emotional comments tonight. And I'm wondering how to proceed. One version would be for us to continue on, to continue to answer questions from the community, offer to talk with individuals. We haven't, no one has made a motion tonight and we can't make a motion tonight.
I feel, once again, after reviewing all the bond documents, everything we went through, I appreciate all the comments. And I think we can continue moving forward and continue to have open conversation on some of the movable pieces on the outside of the building and keep that building bid process moving forward. Because I can foresee getting flooded with comments from the other side after a meeting, and then we'd be back in there going backwards and having the same conversation. So I do agree with you on staying steady. If I felt like we had really varied from our literature that we posted pre-vote, I would have a different comment. But with what we have put out, I feel like we have stayed just about as true to that as we could, other than adding 3,000 square feet to the gym. I am good with moving forward and having open conversations on movable pieces that can improve our project.
Right. Nick, I have one more question for you. If our conversations continue and I don't know, if there was a change to like a site thing, like if we did in November, say like, we want a smaller playground. Or we need to add more green space, we're gonna take away parking spaces, something like that. What would would it be possible to continue to move forward with the bid project and to provide change orders later on? That would not slow down the building of the project?
I think from a site standpoint, and that is easier to accomplish, things within the building.
Mhm.
If we're, changing structural systems, mechanical systems,
Mhm.
everything that changes inside the building becomes something that has a lot more work to it. I'm not trying to downplay a civil engineer's job though, because, if you take parking lots out, then there's less stormwater retention needed, which means they have to change pipes and lower sizes, and so every change has trickle effect that changes the entire set.
Mhm.
And so every change takes time to integrate.
And with the construction manager at risk process, that's a little bit different too, because we will be signing a contract with them. After the bid process, is that when we sign with Myron?
Yeah,
or-
it's not before.
Yeah,
They have to get the bids in.
It's a GMP, after bids are received, which is similar to the design bid build process. It's a similar timing standpoint.
Mhm.
Okay. I think that will wrap up our discussion for tonight. At 10.
Thank you, Nick, for being
36.
here and for showing us the building.
Thank you, Nick.
That's just-
It's a beautiful project. Okay, I'll cut the meeting adjourned.